let's talk about books. I have moved more times than I even want to begin to talk about moving. Like I have lost count of the number of times that I've moved. And every time I move, one of the biggest categories that gets purged is books. Like at one point, I remember when I first moved away from Arizona, I had probably 10 boxes full of books, and I was like 18 at the time. And then when I lived in LA, I had like an entire wall of books. And when I moved most recently from Carmel, I brought one box of books, which feels like nothing. It literally feels like I brought barely any resources with me at all. And I love physical books. I don't love reading online on like the Kindles or the, on the phones as much as I love physically reading a book, like touching paper. And so it was a big deal to do that. And yesterday I was reading, because I love reading, it makes me so happy. And I was feeling really excited about the book that I'm reading because I can't wait to give it away. Like I'm so excited to give another person the gift that I'm receiving by reading this book, by giving it away to them. And it made me really happy. And it dawned on me the vision that I have for my library. And I want to talk about that because I feel like, well, when I work with people and I teach them how to get organized, I teach them my 10 steps. And the first step is setting your intention, like really defining what your vision is for the space that you're organizing and the objects in that space. And so, oftentimes a library is looked at as a small zone of a bigger room. And yet a lot of us, we are really passionate and very personal about our books. Like it's very intimidating to let someone see your book collection, right? Because it's like they can see into your soul. It's such a big deal to what books we collect, what we read, what we want to reread, what books we own but haven't read. I feel like it all tells a really intricate story about who we are and who we want to be. And so I was thinking about my books yesterday as I was reading this book because when the quarantine started, I had this vision that I was like, I want to read my books and give them all away. Like every time I read a book that I haven't read, I want to give it away. And so that when this quarantine is over, I don't have any books. Like I just don't have any. Now that's not 100% possible because like there's a few books that I love and will always reference or reread. And there are books that I won't be able to get to that don't inspire me as much to read yet, that I know we're waiting for our moment to dance. But I do love that vision, and I was thinking yesterday, if I were going to have a library, what would my library consist of? And truthfully, the only books that I feel really, really inspired about in this moment are poetry books. I would love to have a magical, incredible poetry library. That just that feels exciting to me. Like I want to have you over to my house to just like sit and have tea on the back porch and read poetry. Like that just, nerd alert, this is what I want to do with my spare time. So yeah, and when I thought about that, it really dawned on me also why, like, does my current book collection match that vision? And I will say, no, it does not. It does not match that vision. I find poetry books to be a very tricky thing to collect for me because I tend to pick the wrong books. Like I'll buy books that I just actually end up not really loving or that I don't want to revisit because I don't know enough about it. And I have a friend who is amazing with poetry. And so she gives me recommendations and I love it because when I get recommendations from her, I am lit up, and some of them really resonate. Some of them don't resonate, but no matter what, it's putting me on the right track. And so I'm starting to develop a better library of books. And that feels like a beautiful investment for me because it's an experience that I'm creating for myself and visions of what I want to create in the future, like a poetry meetup when I get settled in Santa Fe and things that I want to do. Like it really brings me joy. But what my current library consists of right now is self-help books. Mostly it's self-help and business books. And the truth is that most of those books, once you read them, you don't need to read them again. But oftentimes we hold on to them hoping that owning them will make us be more infused with that information or that we might reference it. Now, again, there's a handful of books that I will always go to. I love A Return to Love by Marianne Williamson. I will literally, my poor book looks like it's just like on death's door. It's so sad, but I love it and I will never get rid of it because that's my happy place where I go to when I need to remember how to love in a very difficult moment. That's where I go. And I love Louise Hay, You Can Heal Your Life, because it reminds me of all the different layers of meaning within our bodies and within our minds. And it brings me a lot of joy to look at that. So yeah, so there's certain books that I will want to keep, but the truth is most self-help that I own or that I'm reading or business books, I want to turn over and release to the world. I want to get through them so that I can like get onto my life. It's funny, it's actually exactly how I feel about people with their clutter, which is I don't want you to spend all your time organizing. I want you to get organized so you can have your life. I want you to live your life and feel really good. And it's the same thing that I feel with these books. Like, and having that insight actually made me more excited about reading, had me feeling better about the completion of these books because I know that I'm getting to do good in the world by then gifting them to someone else that I know will really love them. So it's the minute that I had that vision yesterday around my library, I feel like I'm in a totally different place with books, and in the most mindful place with books I've ever been, because I had pared down to such a minimal view. It was very, I was like, maybe I'm just not going to be a book person. But the truth is, I don't want to read on a tablet. I just don't. I mean, I will if I need to, and if I'm traveling and I really need to ingest that information, or if it's something that is really a reference that I need to go back to over and over again, no problem. But as a whole, I want to touch the book. So it has brought me a lot of uplift, a lot of joy, just being able to name what kind of library I want, what I want with the books that I'm currently reading, right? My business books or my self-help books. I want to ingest that information, apply it, and then move them along to the next person. And then I want to start infusing more of my life with poetry. And who knows, I mean, that might also grow. I also love art, so it's possible that my art books will grow. But I'm not going to grow that yet, because right now I can handle just one thing, which is the poetry. And that feels really exciting to me. So my question for you today is, what books are currently in your library, right? And do those books line up with the life that you want to live? Like, what books do you have, and what books really would line you up with the life that you want to live? Because that's what we're here to do, right? We're here to, yes, look at what we have and make choices in curating our spaces and our minds and our experience. And we're also really setting ourselves up for the future and setting ourselves up for the experience that we want to have. I feel so much right now like I have no excuse for not living my best life, right? I have all this time right now. I can do anything that I want. I can't complain that I don't study Spanish if I don't study Spanish. I just need to study Spanish or make a painting or write a poem. Like, I get to choose to do that. But the truth is that this quarantine life is no different than our life before. It was all a choice. And so I just want to invite you to be really intentional with the choices that you make in the stuff that you keep, so that your options that you're surrounded with are things that bring you joy and not bring you frustration or that heavy should feeling. I really want you to feel like your space supports you and the best parts of you, and that is what is alive and awake in you. And so that was what woke up in me the minute that I was thinking about my library. And I would love to hear what your library is. I'd love to hear what your library is and what you want it to be, just like I was kind of processing. So feel free to share it with me. I hope that you are healthy and well and happy. And thanks for listening and being here. I'm very grateful to connect with you today and all the times that we connect.